Hello, my name is Becca, welcome back to my channel, and today I am bringing you my July wrap up and my August TBR. This video isn't going to be very long because I only read 3 books in July, and my TBR, I don't really follow any sort of particular pattern. My reading is very structured, which I'll get into before I explain my TBR, but as for definite books that I'm going to read, I don't really plan it out in advance. So first of all, let's start off with some stats. In July I read 3 books. 1 was a graphic novel, 2 were regular sized books. I gave 1 book 3 stars and 2 books 4 stars. The first book that I finished in July was Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. I gave this 4 stars on Goodreads. This was a reread for me. I don't like this as much as the original book, which is why I gave it 4 stars instead of 5. I do like a lot of the characters. Aside from the main one, I don't really get on too well with her. I have actually met Victoria Aveyard and she is a lovely lady. The reason that I don't like this book as much as the first one is the setting and the plot is very different. We move to more of like a war intrigue sort of setting. If you think of like Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins, the 3rd book in the Hunger Games series, it takes a bit of that twist and it's very unlike the first book, but I still absolutely love the story. For those of you that don't know, Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard is about 2 types of people called Reds and Silvers, and the blood's different colours. Reds have red blood, Silvers have silver blood, and Silvers are born with abilities and Reds are just normal humans. And our main character, Mare Barrow, finds out that she has abilities by chance even though she's a red blood, and the first book and the rest of the series is about discovering what this means and if there could be anybody else like her and why she has the abilities that she does. The second book that I read was a graphic novel and it was The Walking Dead Volume 18. I'm trying to get into more graphic novels and I've started with The Walking Dead because I watched the TV show, so I already kind of know what's going on and I already know the characters, so I thought that would be a good starting point. I read half a volume in between every normal sized book that I read, otherwise I don't think I would be motivated to pick them up. I'm not a very visual person. I do prefer reading text as opposed to looking at pictures, and I find even when I read graphic novels I don't even really look at the pictures. I just look at which character is talking and read the text. So The Walking Dead is fine because I know the stories, but I don't know if I would read any more graphic novels. I did give this 4 stars on Goodreads. I rate graphic novels differently. I rate them based on the fact that they're a graphic novel, and because I don't really like them, my rating system is sort of how much I liked them considering they are a graphic novel. Where I'm up to so far is around where the TV show is, so just before the war. I won't go into too much detail for anybody who doesn't know or hasn't watched or read The Walking Dead, but I am excited to move past the part where the TV show is up to and figure out what's going to happen next. The last book that I read in the month of July is The Versions of Us by Laura Barnett. This is an adult contemporary fiction. I talked about it in my book haul because I hauled this in June and I've read it already, which doesn't often happen. I did give this 3 stars. On the cover it says that it is supposed to be a cross between One Day, which is one of my favourite books, and Sliding Doors, which is a film about the butterfly effect and what happens based on the choices that we make in life. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought that I would. It follows 2 main characters called Jim and Eva from 1958 to 2014, so it follows them from the age of 19 up until in their 70s, I think. It follows 3 versions. The first version are 2 main characters meet, so it goes through their lives together from this point. The second, they don't meet at the same point. They sort of have interactions much later in life, like chance occurrences and chance meetings at parties. So it's sort of about their lives if they didn't really know each other. And the third version, they do meet as in the first version, but life circumstances mean that it does not follow the same path as the first version. I only gave this 3 stars because I like the premise and the concept, and there's nothing wrong with Laura Barnett's writing. I think it's just not really for me. Like I've strayed away from contemporary a lot. It seems to be with me at the minute that unless there's a magic system and or a dragon, I don't really like the book. Another reason is it's just too realistic. There isn't as much of a romance story as I would have liked. It's all very realistic, where there's problems with marriages, people leave each other, people cheat on each other, and for me personally, I read books to sort of get away from reality, and I like the romance aspects, and this for me was just too realistic, and it didn't make me happy reading it. I was sad, I felt bad for characters. It was just very, it says a lot about humanity that he's sad essentially, and it just wasn't for me, but I did give it 3 stars because of the concept, and I do think it's a good book. It is worth a read. I just personally wasn't a huge fan. So now that we've done my July wrap up, let's move on to my August TBR. Now before I do get into it, I will tell you how I structure my TBRs. I read books in a pattern, so for example I will read a book in a series, then a standalone, and in between every single book I will read half a volume of The Walking Dead so that I can read those. The way that I pick the books that I read is through a TBR jar. Aside from things like if a book comes out in a series, I will reread the entire series and put them into my standalone slots. So at the minute I am reading a book that is a new release, so that has gone into a standalone slot, and when I finish that I will start a new book in a series, and then I think I'm reading another reread. So now that you know that, let's get into what I know I will be reading in the month of August. So the first book I will be reading in August is King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard. This is the 3rd book in the Red Queen series. I've already gone over what the Red Queen series is about. I can't tell you much about King's Cage specifically because of spoilers, but it does start pretty much exactly where the last book leaves off. I'm currently on page 70 of this, so I'll definitely finish it before the end of August. I'm really looking forward to this. I hope that I like it more than I did Glass Sword. I hope it's more in the Red Queen terms of enjoyment. The second book I will be reading is I'll be starting a new series. I don't know what it is yet. Like I said, I picked from a jar, but I'm hoping it's something good. Because I'm watching Game of Thrones at the minute, I really want it to be Game of Thrones, but normally I don't because they're such huge, intimidating books. But I also have like a number of series I'd really like to read on my shelves. Mistborn is one of them. I've got the 1st book in the Kingkiller Chronicles now. I have a lot of series on my TBR shelf, even some that I don't really want to read, like True Blood. But I will, by the end of the month, you'll know what the series was. The next book that I plan to read will be going in my standalone slot once I've finished King's Cage, and that will be A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Of course, I have already read this, and I've read A Court of Mist and Fury, but I haven't got to A Court of Wings and Ruin yet, so I'll be starting my reread of this series so that I can continue with the series until I get to A Court of Wings and Ruin. I'm super excited for that book. It's my most anticipated release of the year, and I just want to see what's going to happen next because the cliffhanger at the end of A Court of Mist and Fury was just too much for me to bear. So I'm super excited to get back into this series. Popular opinions on this book is that A Court of Thorns and Roses is awful, but I actually loved it. I think it would have been a great standalone because I really like Tamlin as a character before we move on to what happens in A Court of Mist and Fury. I think it would have been perfect on its own. I love A Court of Mist and Fury, but it breaks my heart a little moving on to that from this one. And yeah, I can't really say much in case you haven't read it. I know most people have, but if you have read it, you will know what I'm talking about. If you liked the 1st book, it takes a very different path than the 1st one does. For those of you that don't know, A Court of Thorns and Roses is about a human girl called Feyre, and she's hunting for her family, and she goes into the woods and she kills a wolf, but what she doesn't know is that it's a fey wolf, so like sort of a shapeshifter and not just a normal wolf. And in the fairyland called Prythian, there are lots of different courts, so you've got like the spring, summer court, the night court, the day court, and the High Lord of the Spring Court comes to claim her life in place of the life of the wolf that she took. So he whisks her away to the fairylands, and it's about what happens there. I will also be moving on to The Walking Dead volume 19. I am actually already reading that one. I will probably get to at least starting 22. I'm halfway through 19 at the minute, so that will be finished for sure by the end of the month. As for anything else that I'm reading, I have as much clue as you do, and I will, in my August wrap up, I'm sure all will be clear, and I'll probably know what series I'll be reading in September. So that's everything from me today. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. If you have any opinions of the books that I'm reading for August or have read in July, then please just stick a comment down below and we can talk about it. Also, if you like this video, if you could please subscribe to my channel, that would be fabulous, and I look forward to talking to you all. Bye!